I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and thanks for joining us from our studios in Israel. Coming up in today's newscast, a texting scandal threatens a corruption probes against the Israeli Prime Minister. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre is closed up as part of a major protest. And start counting down because we're about to reveal when the second season of Fauda is going to be coming out. Stay tuned for the latest news in Israel. It looks like a texting scandal is taking center stage in the corruption case 4000, but it's not related to Walla swaying its coverage for the Israeli Prime Minister. Israel's Channel 10 News has just released a WhatsApp chat between the Israel Authority security investigator Eran Shacham-Shavit and the case's judge Ronit Poznansky-Katz, and it reveals an apparent coordination in the rulings against the suspects in the case. In the chat, Shacham-Shavit tells the judge to, quote, try and act surprised when the authority announces that they want to release some of the suspects in the probe, while holding others for a few more days. He tells her that the attorneys of two of the suspects will request 3 days, but that the judge can, quote, definitely give 2 days. You're continuing to reveal everything to me, and I'll have to act really surprised, the judge responds. This conversation took place just before the suspects' remand hearings, where they're given the chance to make their case before the judge decides whether or not they can be released. Needless to say, now that the chat has been released, the Israeli Supreme Court Chief Justice and the Israeli Justice Minister have removed Judge Poznansky-Katz from planned hearings and are investigating her behavior. Shacham-Shavit has also been placed on leave. Now, 6 suspects in case 4000 are demanding their immediate release, saying the text messages have contaminated the judicial process. But a police source says law enforcement officials aren't concerned that the texting scandal will hurt the probe, claiming, quote, the evidence will prevail. Case 4000 involves suspicions that the owner of the Israeli news channel Walla granted positive coverage to the Israeli Prime Minister and his family, all in exchange for benefits for his other company, the telecommunications giant Bezeq. Joining us in the studio to help break down the texting scandal is criminal law expert Orit Hayun. All right, thanks for joining us. So why is it such a big deal that the Israeli Security Authority investigator and the judge were in communication before the suspect's remand hearing? Can you break that down for us?
Yes, because the criminal procedure needs to be clean and transparent. The severe circumstances that the judge who hears the case writes WhatsApp messages with a police representative prior to the hearing, talking about the case, learning from him facts that she shouldn't hear before, and even discuss with him for how long to arrest some of the interrogatees. And
well, so I mean, it's almost obvious that she knew that this was not something that should be happening, the judge herself, when she was having this conversation, right? So how big of a blow is this for the justice system in Israel as a whole?
I think it really hurts the public confidence in the legal system. It makes it looks bad. I'm not sure it will have long-run effects on this investigation and the conclusion of if to indict or not to indict. Because
well, that's the next question here, because, you know, we are seeing, you know, the police say that they don't think this is going to have any impact on the actual case itself because evidence is evidence, as they say. Will it affect the actual case? What is your take on that?
First, I think we should wait for the discipline investigation that both the judge and the police representative will go through into their conclusion. Personally, I don't believe it will have a long-run effects on the investigation, because investigation has evidence, has a long time working on it, and it will not affect the decision if to indict and who to indict.
Do you think that previous rulings in case 4000 now need to be reviewed as a result?
I'm sure politicians and lawyers will argue that, but I believe, and I tend to believe, it was more of an incident rather than something which happened usual. But I really hope that after we hear the conclusion of the discipline investigation, we can state more clearly if some other decision needs to be open or
Right.
this was a one-time incident.
Thing. All right, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
The holiday of Purim is returning this week, and as per usual, the Israeli army has announced a preemptive closure of crossings with the West Bank and the Gaza Strip during the holiday festival. The only difference is that this year there are additional challenges to keep in mind. ILTV's Aaron Porras is here with more on the security update. So Aaron, what has changed?
So as you said, it's standard practice to close the borders ahead of holidays. Holidays are typically seen as times of increased resistance and unrest. That being said, you'll notice that while Purim is only from Wednesday to Thursday this year, the closures last from Tuesdays to Saturday. That's a 5-day closure, which is up a day from last year. It was a 4-day closure, and that was after a 24-hour extension due to acute security reasons.
Right, so why, I mean, it seems like there's clearly more concern here. Why is that the case?
For a few reasons. The first is a lot to do with all the unrest over the recent decisions in Jerusalem. But the second probably has a lot to do with a poll that was recently released, taken in the West Bank and Gaza, which was showing dismally low support rates for any Palestinian leader or faction, and increased rates in support for both violent and nonviolent resistance against Israel.
Now, what do the new numbers show? Can you break them down for us?
So violent resistance is now supported by up to 35% of respondents. Nonviolent resistance supported by 30%. That's up from 24% this time last year. And just 39% of Palestinians total have any support for Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas.
Right, and what about support for Hamas more specifically?
So for Hamas and Fatah, they're seen largely as two sides of the same coin. For Fatah, support is still around 23%, but for Hamas, the support has fallen to about below 9%, just around 9% support for Hamas in the Gaza territory. One thing that pretty much everybody does agree on, though, is something like 95, 96%. They all believe that they will not accept a Palestinian state unless Jerusalem is its capital.
All right, Aaron, thank you so much for joining us. Church leaders in Jerusalem have closed up the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, all in a protest of a new Israeli policy that would allow Israel to confiscate land sold by churches to private investors since 2010, and also freeze their assets until they cough up unpaid taxes. Tourists in Jerusalem are disappointed, to say the least.
Yeah, I've been especially to see the Holy Church, and I'm quite disappointed because I did not know that it was going to be closed, and I came to Jerusalem mainly to see that church, which is like the roots of Christian for us. So.
Well, the Knesset has now postponed a debate over the bill in response to the protest. The legislation was pushed forward by the Kulanu Knesset member Rachel Azaria, who says she's seeking to protect hundreds of Israelis in Jerusalem whose homes are on land that until recently was owned and leased to them by the churches, or more specifically, the Greek Orthodox Church. Most of these people are living on church land under 99-year contracts that were signed in the 1950s between the church and the state. When the contracts run out, they're supposed to either extend or the buildings will revert back to the church. But here's the problem. In recent years, the Greek Orthodox Church has been selling the real estate to private investors to erase massive debts. In other words, hundreds of people could soon be without homes.
אין לנו שום עניין לגעת בשום קרקע שבבעלות הכנסייה. אבל לא יכול להיות שזה מה שיזמים יעשו ברגע שהם קונים את הקרקע. הווה אומר הצעת החוק היא מול היזמים ולא מול הכנסייה.
Under the new proposed policy, Israel would seize control of that land. But the churches consider this an assault on their rights to buy and sell their one and only resource, investment properties.
This reminds us all laws of a similar nature which were enacted against the Jews during the dark periods in Europe. This is the mighty and unprecedented attack against Christians in the Holy Land, severely violates the most basic, unequal, and sovereign rights.
The Israeli government is also demanding millions of shekels in back taxes to Jerusalem, and the city's mayor says it isn't fair that businesses on church property have traditionally been exempt from paying taxes. Lawyers for the Greek Orthodox Patriarch say a lien has been placed on the church's assets due to an unpaid debt of $8.7 million. Local churches say the charges are illegitimate, and tourists are outraged.
All over the world that I have traveled, I've never heard of any church paying taxes anywhere. So why is this new? What's this new idea?
For now, the doors of the Holy Church of the Sepulchre remain closed in protest. Orthodox Christian and Catholic tourists alike believe it to be the place where Jesus was crucified, buried, and resurrected. But they're just going to have to wait for this scandal to blow over until they'll finally get the chance to visit.
Now, here's some very exciting news for activists and humanitarians alike. Israel has agreed to hold off deporting almost 2,000 African asylum seekers after reaching a deal with Canada. 1,845 African asylum seekers are currently waiting for resettlement in Canada, and Israel has agreed to hold off deporting them until that happens. Canadian immigration officials claim that they've just inked the last-minute deal with Israel, meaning this group of asylum seekers also won't face jail time. That's good news for about 10% of the total number of asylum seekers that could be deported under the first stage of Israel's deportation campaign. Israel is home to about 38,000 asylum seekers and is planning on deporting the first round of unmarried males to Rwanda or Uganda by March. If they refuse, they will be jailed indefinitely in Israel, according to the new government policy. The Africans come from Eritrea and Sudan and say they fled from war, genocide, and a slave army for freedom here in Israel. The Israeli government, however, refers to them as so-called illegal infiltrators or economic migrants, claiming the Jewish state has no legal obligation to accept them. In recent weeks, Israelis from across the country have been protesting Israel's plan to deport the asylum seekers, but a recent poll by the Israeli Democracy Institute found that 2/3 of the public supports their planned expulsion. There's a major problem with the government's plan, however. Prison authorities are skeptical that they will be able to process and hold the 15,000 to 20,000 asylum seekers that are expected to be jailed. Well, it's been just days since the United States announced it's moving its embassy to Jerusalem on May 14th. But the news still has the world divided. As can be assumed, many Israelis are excited about the move, while the Arab world is fuming.
Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu praised Donald Trump's decision during Sunday's cabinet meeting and has called the U.S. president a true friend of Israel. Over the weekend, several senior Israeli politicians posted their support for the move on social media. And even though the Israeli public is excited about the move, many believe it should have happened years ago.
I say this is an historical decision. Why? 70 years ago, the American President Harry Truman said we recognized Israel as a free country. And now, again, President Trump said we recognize Jerusalem as the capital of the state of Israel, and we are very happy about that decision.
As expected, not everyone is happy. Palestinian chief peace negotiator and senior Fatah member Saeb Erekat warned that moving the embassy to Jerusalem will destroy the peace process and lead the region down a path of violence and extremism. Many Palestinians are now saying that the United States is biased towards Israel and that the move has officially ended relations between the Palestinians and the Trump administration.
So there hasn't been anything left to say. The Palestinians already delivered their message and their position of it. They said no, and there's nothing more to say. There's nothing more to negotiate about. There's no relation now between the Palestinians and the U.S.
On an international scale, the Turkish foreign minister is slamming the move, saying it, quote, tramples over international law and resolutions of the United Nations Security Council on Jerusalem. Jordanian government officials and the Arab League Secretary General are agreeing, claiming the move will only harm Israeli-Palestinian peace negotiations.
Being exposed to mercury is very dangerous and toxic to the human body, which is why an Israeli startup has been working on a way to eliminate mercury emissions from factories all over the world. Well, now they've just had a major breakthrough, and joining us in the studio to tell us more is Hagai Keller, the CEO of Mercury Removal. Thanks for joining us.
Hi.
All right, now this is a big deal what you guys have done here. The first thing that I'd like you to do is explain what makes mercury so dangerous for those of us who don't understand.
Sure. Mercury is emitted by industrial emissions. Mercury elements just go to the atmosphere, and from there they reach the nature's water cycle, in which mercury transforms to its most toxic form and bioaccumulates in fish and seafood that we eventually eat.
Right.
Small presence of mercury in our bodies has severe implications on the nervous systems, mainly fetus and newborns, and causing mental retardation and IQ loss.
Well, and there are lots of industries right now that are emitting mercury, even though it's so dangerous. Waste incineration facilities, coal, I mean everything. And they're not really taking care of the problem. There's no solution right now to deal with this. So what have you created?
Well, there are solutions, but are limited.
Right. Well, and there's byproducts, right? So
that's right, which re-emit the mercury to the environment. So we came with a revolutionary approach, using a unique liquid formulation that is implemented in a closed system in which flue gas comes in, and our liquid captures all mercury elements, which eventually is removed, separated in a stable and safe form for disposal, while the liquid is regenerated for reuse. So it's closed, control, and has no impact on the environment.
Which is very important because, like you said, a lot of other solutions that exist right now somehow end up re-emitting the mercury into the environment. It's just a byproduct of the solutions that exist. So is this technology available yet? Is it being used, or is it still in the testing phase?
This technology is in the test phase, actually facing commercialization. We have been running very successfully a pilot with the Israeli Electricity Corporation, running flawlessly with fantastic results for more than a year now. So we're now facing the international phase, collaborating with additional companies in Europe and China.
Well, this is, I mean, a really big deal. And I understand that you were also in California for a World Clean Tech competition, right? How did you guys do?
Well, we took the first place. We won the first place in the finals for the C track, which was very impressive and encouraging, another strengthening, our message, and was great. Yeah,
great. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Chagai, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
All right, yet another incredible historical discovery has just been made in Israel, and this time it's a 700-year-old ring bearing the image of none other than Saint Nicholas himself. Now, here's the crazy part. The artifact was found by chance by a man who was just doing some simple gardening in a home in the Jezreel Valley.
The ring apparently dates to the 12th to 15th century, to the Crusader to Mamluk period. And it was customary for people who traveled to carry an image with them in order to protect them, the image of St. Nicholas. The Moshav HaYogev is very close to the ancient Roman road that led from the area of Megiddo and Legio to the holy sites of the Galilee. This ring may well be the ring of a pilgrim who was traveling to the Galilee in the Middle Ages along the main road, and he must have lost his ring on the way.
Well, he was right to turn it over because the ring he found is a first of its kind to be discovered. It depicts the face of Saint Nicholas, who is best known as the source of the beloved gift-giving Christmas figure of Santa Claus.
אני דקל בן שטרית, אני מתגורר באזוריה ועובד כגנן. אתמול במהלך עבודה שגרתית בגינה ביוגב, אני מתכופף ואני רואה איזה טבעת קשיחה כזאתי, הרמתי אותה, ואני מגלה שהיא כבדה, אז אני מעניק אותה לרשות העתיקות, אני בטוח שהם ידעו מה לעשות.
The Moshav HaYogev, where the ring was found, is located in the eastern Jezreel Valley, just east of Tel Megiddo and settlements from the Roman and Byzantine period near Legio.
Diabetes is one of the most common diseases in the world, and now an Israeli company is working on a product that has the potential to improve the lives of millions of people that are suffering from the illness. Here to tell us more is Shai Hershkovitz, the co-founder and director of business and development at Betalin Therapeutics. All right, Shai, so tell us a little bit about some of the current solutions in the market right now to help people with diabetes.
So, Natasha, thank you. Today, there are over 450 million people suffering from diabetes. That's enormous. And today, those people have to inject insulin to their body by machines, such as insulin injection, insulin pumps. Those machines today are like Band-Aid on a wound. They can help you for one day, but it's not a treatment. It's not a solution, just a daily use.
So you're developing a therapy. Can you tell us about it?
Definitely. The Betalin Therapeutics produce the artificial micropancreas. The artificial micropancreas are from biological elements from human. And no need, this will be a one-time treatment, which no need any other treatments. Once, just in the video now, once it's been inserted into the human body, one time, it's create vascularization with the blood. So the brain is talking with the organ, like biology. No need other treatment, no pills, no pumps, no insulin injection, zero. The patients with diabetes will be healthy, completely healthy.
This is unbelievable. So, okay, this sounds crazy, but have you created this already? this has been created, but it's obviously not implemented yet in hospitals, right?
We are working with big hospitals to have it implemented. It will be the first human around the world. It's not exist yet. The first human in beginning of 2018. We hope that we achieve it. It's not exist yet. A human walking on Earth with artificial biological micro-pancreas. We will be the first one. We do it simultaneously. We're pushing with the United States FDA, with the Chinese FDA, and 2018.
Well, you guys just got a big check too, right?
Yes. If I can show it to the
you
audience,
did.
it's nice.
$100,000 to develop this treatment, which is a huge deal. And so like you said, the hope is that it's going to be available as early as 2019. Is that what you said? 2019.
It will be in a human clinical study into 2019.
Okay, this is beautiful. All right, well, I think we're all excited to see where this heads. You're going to be changing millions and millions of lives. So
thank you so much, Natasha.
Thank you. All right, plans for Israel's 70th Independence Day are starting to come together, and while some people love celebrating in the Holy Land, Culture Minister Miri Regev might have some other plans this year. ILTV's Emmanuel Kadosh is here with some more details.
Thanks, Natasha. Well, while I'm definitely one of those people that loves seeing everyone running around the country showing their pride for Israel, Miri Regev thinks that we should share those celebrations with the world and has a plan to bring them to the Big Apple.
Okay, so what can we expect from these celebrations if they are to be held in New York City?
So according to reports, Regev is planning on screening a short film about Israel on the huge screens at Times Square. And if that wasn't enough, Regev is also considering throwing a huge gala event at a luxurious hotel in Manhattan that would host diplomats from around the world. The whole event would be around the same time as New York's annual Celebrate Israel parade.
Now, if she could make this happen, it would be a big deal for Israel, obviously, but how much would this cost? It sounds like a lot of money, and is the government even willing to provide a budget for this?
Right. It's been reported that this whole celebration should cost somewhere between $3 to $5 million, which is a lot of money. Some branches of the government don't think this is the best idea, while the Foreign Ministry says it's already fighting for its budget, but still seems to think the idea is an important national project. The diplomatic benefits are still unclear.
Well, it's a lot of money, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see what happens. Thanks for joining us, Emmanuel.
Thank you.
All right, guys, it is finally happening. The release date for season 2 of the hit Israeli series Fauda on Netflix has just gone public, and I know exactly how I'm going to be spending this spring.
The new season will be going live on Netflix on May 24th at midnight in all of the countries where the streaming service is available. Well, except for in France and Israel. If you've been living under a rock and somehow have missed this hit series, the show is about an elite Israeli undercover commando unit that's operating in the West Bank. The entire series was written by the Israeli veteran journalist Avi Issacharov and the show's lead actor Lior Raz, and centers on a top Israeli agent who comes out of a retirement to hunt for a Palestinian militant that he thought he'd killed. The entire show is in both Arabic and Hebrew, and interestingly, it's beloved by both Israelis and Palestinians alike. After all, they can agree on good TV. Fauda has been dubbed the Wire of the West Bank, showing the complexity of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict to the point where the viewer just doesn't know how to feel anymore. So if you still aren't convinced that you should watch this series, do it anyway, and then go and get some help.
And now for our Hebrew word of the day. Everyone has something that they're good at, and here on ILTV, we like to celebrate our gifts. So today's word is mukhshar, meaning talented. Some of us can act, some play musical instruments, and some are professionals at just eating a lot. I mean, literally everyone can find something that they're mukhshar at doing. Take our anchor, Aaron Porras, for example. In elementary school, he was voted most likely to, well, we won't repeat it here, but just look at him now. Very mukhshar, right? So just go out and try everything that you can, because you'll never know where your talents may actually appear. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather forecast. Tonight should be cloudy with a drop in temperatures to a low of 55 or 13 degrees Celsius. And tomorrow, you can expect an additional drop in temperatures with a chance of scattered showers and a high of about 66 or 19 degrees Celsius. All right, that's it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.49 shekels to the American dollar. Remember to sign up for our daily newsletter at iltv.tv. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook at Israel English News and on Twitter at ILTV News. I'm Natasha Kirchuk, and thanks for watching.